Thank you. Next.
I'm Naveen Raheja, Chairman Raheja Developers. My issue is real estate industry has been passing through high debts as on today. Margins have declined because of speculative land prices, because of shortage of manpower due to NREGA, skilled workforce is not available. It is available at a very high cost now. And because of cost of inputs also. Apart from this, we have to get more than 50 clearances before we are able to start the projects, and it takes more than 2 years. So cost of funds is also very badly affected. On top of it, for a high density country, we have the most archaic laws of the lowest FAR and population density in this country. And these laws are applicable since 1961 when National Building Code came into effect, and there has been virtually no change. I think real estate should have been given some more understanding in the present context, particularly looking at the shortage of housing which is prevailing in the country, and because of slums and squatting happening everywhere across the country. And at least infrastructure status should have been given to housing for up to 80 square meters, catering to EWS and LIG category at least, so that what we see today, people defecating openly across railway lines and in the open areas, we need to give a social society to our country. So this is my concern, if it could be addressed and some relook could be given on this.
On general issue, I would like to say I agree with your concern that the unusual long time is taken to clear the projects at different levels. Through the instrumentality of the group of ministers, currently we are addressing high mega power projects and its coal linkage, environment and clearance, all three taken together. And we are trying to reduce the time lag so that the projects could be cleared as expeditiously as possible. In regard to the acquisition of the land, the Land Act is under the consideration of the Parliament. As soon as the relevant standing committee makes its recommendations available, we will get it enacted. Housing is an important sector. Keeping that objective in view, I have given 2 concessions to the affordable houses, both by extending commercial borrowing in this area, and also we have identified of the 5 core sectors which are eligible to have this, including the gap funding, viability gap funding facilities, to give priority to the housing sector. Gopalan, would you like to add anything?
So a number of concessions here given. So the affordable housing has been given ECBs, Credit Guarantee Trust Fund, Rural Housing Fund, Interest Subvention, enhancing the limit under priority sector for indirect financing, tax-free bonds. I think we are given a number of benefit this year to the housing, affordable housing.
Just a humble request, if it could be given infrastructure status.
No, that's what suggestion. I have told you that suggestion we cannot respond it because all the suggestions are noted, but response we can give the clarifications of the existing finance bills, existing budgetary proposals. But whether any suggestion is acceptable to government or not, that response can come constitutionally, legally, only on the floor of Parliament, not outside. That's why this is the limitation. Please keep it in mind.
Thank you.
Sir, myself, may I request...
Excuse me,
Fiki.
Now Fiki chance come,
yes.
Please.
I think ASSOCHAM has taken close to about 8 to 10 questions. Please.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. On behalf of FICCI, as mentioned by the President FICCI, the attempt to rein in the fiscal deficit at 5.1% is truly laudable. However, the fiscal deficit target is being termed ambitious, and many beginning to question that the subsidies may be under-provided. Could you, in the course of time, let us know what the underlying assumptions are in coming up with the total allocation for subsidies? Because it will be important for us to defend this 5.1% number to investors, external and internal, who are detractors today and questioning the 5.1 number as being somewhat ambitious. The second point that I just wanted to highlight is there is a large outlay of 15,588 crores for PSU banks. And it's almost a given that as our banks grow in tandem with industry, that this would be a recurring demand. Could this not be an opportunity to review the policy towards continuing to fund our PSU banks when they have the opportunity to go to the capital markets and raise money through other norms, particularly given that we have over 70% of the banking sector today in government hands, and is that strictly necessary? And the third is really to lend our voice to many who have raised issues